Okay, today we'll be going to replace a float valve on a Coroma toilet. And typically what happens with these float valves is this guy right here. And they get stuck and don't drop completely, as you can see there, to fill up the water. So you can take them off and clean them, but for as inexpensive as they are, it's just much easier to replace. This guy here, the flushing mechanism, that's a whole different video. We'll get to that some other time. But for now, what happens is this guy keeps running, which in turn the water keeps flowing into the bowl, and it would be considered a water leak. Okay, to replace or repair these, obviously you got to turn off the water. Lefty loosey, righty tighty. Sometimes these, especially in areas with hard water, the valves don't cut off completely. So make sure that's nice and tight and cut off completely. Here you'll see is the 3/4 female coming out of the toilet, which is part of the valve. Of course, this is your hose. Most plumbers recommend you hand tighten these. For myself, I do put a channel lock on there, just get a little more tightening on it. Always check afterwards for leaks and what have you. But for right now, we're going to take this off. And of course remove the ball valve. And this is the actual washer holding that flow valve here. So the first thing you want to do, of course, is flush your toilet and empty the reservoir. We want all that water out of there because once we pull off that valve on that bottom left side, that water is going to leak out of that hole down there where that orange washer is. So I usually get a towel and a bowl or some sort of a receptacle to catch that. As you can see, there's about a 1/4 inch water left. You can try flushing a little bit more. And obviously with the water off, it's not filling back up, but you're still going to have a little bit of water. You could make a little bit of mess. It's clean water. Just put a towel down, again, a bowl, and I'm going to do that now. And just so you know, these valves here, they'll break in many different ways. This actually here, this is the actual valve. So the water comes through this tube to refill the reservoir back up. And if this guy isn't all the way up, it'll keep flowing. And of course it won't fill if this guy isn't all the way down. So you'll get lime, calcium buildup here. Okay, and also in here. Here in South Texas, we've got real hard water, so I have to replace these about every 4 or 5 years. And again, they're only $7, $8 at your local home improvement store. All right, so let's go look at the, let's take off the hose off the bottom of the basin, and I'll show you how to replace this guy. So here's typically the challenge. That valve, or that where that valve is so close to the wall, I can't get anything under it to catch all that water. So again, get your towel, stuff that towel under there, maybe get a pitcher or bowl, tall plastic glass or something. I have something here, it's a small red guy, but as you can see, it's not going to quite work. So just be prepared for some water to come out. No big deal. Again, it's clean water, and you will catch most of it. So right there, I'm going to go ahead and unscrew this. And again, this one's hand tightened. And here it comes. And the other part could be as if your valve over here, your water valve, doesn't shut off completely. Damn thing's going to keep flowing anyway. So right now it stopped because that water level is a little above the washer and the other side of that, if you will, a clamp, or the other washer that holds that valve in place. There's this here, which can get tight over a period of time. I'm unable to do it with my hand, so I'm going to use a pair of channel locks to loosen that up. So again, after I loosen it up, I can go back with my hand and remove it. Of course, just get that off of there. As you can see, like I said, this water's going to keep coming out. And again, with that towel in place, don't worry about it, just water. Okay. And this is the easy part. Okay, so now we got the hose off, the washer off. Here's your valve, and there you go. I'm gonna dump this water. And just put that back on there to catch a little drip. Again, we're gonna get a mess, but so be it. So let me show you this. As you can see here, all that hard water buildup keeps this guy from moving up and down as it should. Sometimes, again, you can lower this thing. It's got a lowering, you can do it by hand. It lowers that float, and you can clean this post or pole, if you will. But sometimes, once they start doing it, they never stop. And again, these little valves on top, they go bad. So that's what keeps your water flowing. When that float goes up, that cuts your water off. All right, and here's the new Floodmaster toilet fill valve, the #1 solution to fix noisy and leaky toilets. It doesn't say leaky, but obviously if your bowl is filling up, the water's going to drain into the actual bowl and you got a water leak. So that's what happens. So here's the new one, and it has this adjustable stem, if you will, for the valve based on the depth of your tank. And typically you want this valve here, which again, when it's down it fills, when it's up it shuts off. Okay, so you want, what I do is just look at the water level. There's usually a line there, and someone have the valve kind of halfway or below that water line, you'll be safe. The other thing is to put it in again with that valve a little bit below that water line, and then you can adjust the valve with this mechanism here, this gray thing, which has a thumb turn at the top. Okay, so you can move your valve up and down that way. So again, 2 adjustments for the depth of your tank, that one and that to remove for the valve as well. And the other thing, of course, as far as adjusting the height, you can look at your old one and just kind of eyeball, if you will, to make sure they're, you know, about the same height. Okay, actually I've extended this one too far, so I'm going to basically twist it back in place and get it about the same length as that one. Okay, so the new valves come with just one washer, this red washer on the end, which goes in the inside of your tank. And of course I'm going to reuse, if you will, the nut or the threaded fastener that goes obviously on the threaded side of the valve. So the valve's in place. I hand tighten my nut or threaded fastener there. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and put this hose out. As you can see, that valve didn't close off completely. I'm getting a water leak. That's leaking into that bowl. So the quicker you do this, the better, especially if you have a leak. But again, once you get this, it goes pretty damn quick. And then once you get all that on there, let's get this from leaking, keep this guy from leaking, because my wife's going to get mad because there's water all over the floor. And get this hose back on, just hand tighten it real quick to get that, keep that water from flowing. And then we can go back after I get this, tighten this puppy here, and we'll tighten that a little bit more. Okay, so now, no more damn water. We're finger tightened. The other thing, if you can't follow my instructions, is the box comes with a quick install guide and pretty much covers, you know, everything you need to know as far as getting this guy replaced. You know, those of you that have a different kind of release valve like this, as opposed to that double fancy smancy thing I have, it's more simple because you got more room. It basically tells you where to fill, how far to put the float up and what have you, where to put the hose and blah, blah, blah. So this is a real easy repair. Anyone can do it, no matter what type of toilet you have. And let's go ahead and give it a try. So now I got the valve back in. I got my hose and my washer back on. Let's turn the water back on and see what happens. Got the water back on. Now, one thing I've noticed immediately is this is filling up so much faster, because again, that and to cut down the noise, you want to make sure that hose is pointing downwards. because you can see how the water, it makes noise, but in the water it's not as bad. Now let's watch this valve pick up once it gets to a certain level. Again, I set this like the last one, same depth, same height, and the valve about the same place. As you can see, as that valve came up, there you go. I'm about a ½ inch below what I typically do, but what happens over a period of time is that valve, again, it becoming faulty, that water line will kind of creep its way up. It's not necessary. This is a low flow toilet, so that basin there, or the amount of water in that, is sufficient for a full flush. On this Coroma thing, this is a half flush and this is a full flush, and we don't need to say number one, number two. So we're good, we're repaired. Let's go ahead and flush. You see that half flush, only half the water went down. This guy's filling up so much faster. It was taking 5 minutes to fill this basin up. Plus, it was leaking. There you go. Come down here, check for leaks. And what I usually do when I do plumbing repairs, obviously look for any kind of immediate leaks. And every couple hours through the day, maybe 2 or 3 times, I come back and make sure it just isn't leaking. And if it is, again, give it a little more twist, or again, I get a pair of channel locks and just give it a nice little, a small tightening, because if you tighten it too much, those rubber washers will leak on you as well. So most plumbers recommend on these kind of things, obviously, so they don't have a place for a wrench, that you hand tighten these, again, so you won't ruin those washers. So there you go. We've successfully repaired a toilet in probably under 10 minutes. Now I got to clean up all the water.